that takes on to The Flash, issue 65. Mark Waid writing with Greg LaRocque on the art. This is the final issue of the Born to Run arc. Something that when I was talking about this an issue or two ago, I remember, I think I said, oh, I'm sure Barry tells him who he is by the end of the arc. He doesn't. That was a made-up memory.
I don't know if I'm going to blame you for that or the issue, but I'm going to knock off at least half a point to what I did originally in that, as we were talking about at the start of this episode, that I didn't realize this was the last issue. Even as I was reading it and it said end, I just assumed it meant end of the issue because it didn't really feel like the end of the story for me.
No, I got into the story to a point. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's definitely stuff to still explore from his early days if Wade's going to go back and do that, and he might. I don't know if he does, but he might. But, I mean, just in the sense that he kind of learns to not, like, hate being with his parents. Like, there's kind
of... what I think it is that's throwing me off is, now that I'm thinking about it in that context, this issue feels more like an epilogue. Whereas, as I was reading it, I thought this was the transition reissue between the two parts of the story. So that's kind of what's thrown me off, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, we have Wally's in present day. You know, he's with his grandfather, and just to remind us again of the framing device. But you know, it shows us, you know, Iris driving Wally home, and Wally being kind of pissy about it, ignoring the tornado warning on the radio as well. Iris tried to talk him into, you know, caring about his parents, and he's just kind of pissed. And we know that it's not just because he's going home. We know it's because he also has been told that he can't use his powers, which, you know, is really upset him. And when his father comes home, he drops a dish, and his father just yells at him. He doesn't even say hi to him without being prompted. He's like,
yeah, and he's so frustrated because he's like, you know, yesterday I could have caught that dish, and now, I could have. What was the exact line he says? He says something specific. Oh, I could pass a Concorde like it was standing still, and now I couldn't even catch a stupid plate.
Yeah, I like the touch that he's got, like, Flash, like, bedspreads and like Flash posters and whatever.
He's a proper fanboy.
He's a proper fanboy. It is a bit weird that he's got a photo of his aunt on his, like, nightstand. I mean, I get what it's doing, but that's such a weird. Like, I don't think any kid has a photo of their aunt on the nightstand. That's kind of weird. I don't think most kids have a photo of anyone on their nightstand. I mean, maybe if their parents give them a photo and say, hey, put that in your nightstand, maybe they'll have like a family photo or something, but it's not something kids tend to have.
No, not at all.
Not of a person they know. Maybe of like a celebrity or something they've got a crush on. Like, I could buy that.
That's much more likely.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
I would expect far more likely for it to be some cutout from a magazine of some celebrity or other than your aunt.
I mean, what time period are we in here? Who would Wally be into? Like Cyndi Lauper? I don't know. Who was a hit?
Right?
Yeah, who was a hit with the young teenage boys, or not even teenage? He's 10, but like,
yeah.
You know, anyway, so he's really upset, and he's so pissed that he actually runs out. He goes out the window. His dad comes up to find him. He's not there. And can I just say how much I love the art shift here? Because everything's really flat and like all these flat pale blue walls and stuff like that. And then when you go outside and it's the storm, it's just all this scratchy and shadow. It looks so different and distinct.
It's so scratchy is the word I want to use.
Oh, it's great. And we've imprisoned art a lot in this arc. I think every issue's had like that standout moment of a really good bit of like timing and sequencing and the pacing in the panels. And there's one coming up here later actually. During all this stuff, but his dad actually finds him and climbs up the tree, and he even mentions how he didn't even realize his dad could climb a tree. But his dad's really like, and even the way dad's phrases things, he's like, "Oh, you come down here this instant. I don't want to have to take you to the hospital." Like the way he phrases, like, "No, I don't want you to be an inconvenience. So come down this instant."
Yeah, like, I don't need you breaking a leg. Like, no, I don't want you to break a leg.
Yes. So, but you know, it's basically this, you know, Wally learn to understand that his dad does care about him. It's just in his own unique way. Because one of the things Iris says earlier is that, you know, oh yeah, your dad and my dad wasn't, you know, his father like wasn't that great a relationship. He didn't really like him that much. So it's kind of this almost running the family thing where, you know, theoretically Wally may be a shitty dad one day. Although we know he's not because we have hindsight.
I suspect it's one of those things that skips generations in the sense that because they had a shitty dad, they intentionally go out of their way not to be a shitty dad.
Well, it didn't in this case, though, did it?
Well, no, but generally speaking.
Because Wally's dad and the grandfather.
No, I know. I mean, generally. Yeah. Not always.
So, lightning strikes the tree, and Wally's okay, but the trunk lands on his father, and Wally can't pick it up. and there's a tornado coming. And so we straight up get like, and do you know what I love about this is I'd forgotten that this kind of ends with the big action climax of this series isn't with the Flash. It's Wally on his own in his own town, dealing with something completely, and he's like, "Hey, I saw the Flash once, unfunnel a tornado basically by running around it."
It's not even stopping like a crime or it's not even like a weather wizard tornado or anything. It's just a tornado.
No, I love that. I love that it is just a natural disaster. But plus it gives it the setting as well, because it's the Midwest, it's tornado country.
That's it. I don't say just a tornado as if tornadoes aren't potentially dangerous. I mean, in comparison to Flash villains.
Yeah, and it's this thing here where Wally basically makes that hero's choice. He's like, you know what? I don't care if this kills me. I have to try and save my dad. I have to try and stop this. So he puts on the outfit. His dad's knocked out, obviously, so he doesn't see any of this. And I will say that the panel of him in full costume when he's first put it on, the
little bit
posture's a bit weird, yeah. However, the page after that may be my favourite page art in the book, because it's the pacing again, where he's trying to run and he falls down, and I think because of the scratchy art, the rain, and the really selling the mud that as he lands in it, you really feel that he's being beat down by the weather.
Yeah, I kind of love how the rain and this puddle, it's inky black, right? It's not like even rain on a a heavy overcast day when it's a storm doesn't look black like this. This does feel like ink, and I know you go, well, that's because it isn't, but I mean the effect of it is really, really strong.
But he gets back up, of course, and he does it anyway, and he kind of fights through it, and fights through the pain that it's been caused because he's supposed to hurt because of this. And it's almost like he's just training his muscles. Like, if you want an explanation as to why he's fine after this, it's like no, he basically just conditioned his body to be okay with it.
Yeah, all of this is talks about he hits the wall and he breaks through it, and it's athletes when they break through the wall they can keep going, and now he can too. And
for me, it doesn't feel like it betrays what his grandfather told him last issue, because his grandfather is working purely theoretical here. He's had one patient before him who's got super speed, and that's the Flash, and this is the first kid that he's had with super speed. Like, everything he's saying is completely hypothetical. He doesn't have precedence. He doesn't know what he's really doing.
He's making an educated guess, and it's not a bad guess based on what the information he had.
Yeah, but Wally has to try to save his father, so he pushes through it anyway. And he's got blood coming from his nose, but he does it. And I love how the art goes back to like what you recognize as the art in this book. Like the black scratchiness goes away after the tornado dissipates, and it's back to the old coloring. And he gets his dad up off the table, and we cut back to present day. And Wally's talking to his grandfather, and his grandfather's like, don't worry, Iris knew what you did, and one day when she found out, and all the rest of it. So, and Wally kind of, at first he's going to try to leave, and he's like, you know what, no, I will stay for dinner. And his grandfather's like, hey, Iris lives on in you. Like, what he says, Barry taught me how to be the Flash, taught me how to be Kid Flash, but Iris taught me how to be Wally West. Yeah. So it ends in a close up of a photo of the two of them. And yeah, so he's staying for dinner, and he's accepted he's passed, and that is the end of the issue. 65 and the end of the arc. We finished our first arc.
Go us.
And the Waid's Flash. Really good stuff, and I think what's so good about it is that this came after Batman Year One, but obviously the tone is completely different, because it should be for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's not Batman, but secondly, the main character's 10 years old, so it should be more jovial, it should be more lighthearted. And I think my favourite thing about the arc is how Waid writes young Wally to have kind of a kid's attitude about things. The way he throws like tantrums in his head about hating Barry and being bored, it feels like, okay, you're being a little shit, but you're being a sort of a relatable kid.
A normal little shit, not someone who belongs in juvie.
Yeah. Not like a Damien who's like trying to kill people.
Yeah.
Not like that. So, I really appreciate that. I think the voice is really well done. And yeah, and I do wonder how much of this stuff that we're talking about, do we get to see maybe like a reinterpretation of when Iris finds out, when Barry tells him who he is? Like, do we get to see like how he gets his yellow costume and like other flashbacks later? I don't know if we do. Maybe we do. Maybe we don't.
Maybe. I will say, as much as I agree with everything you've just said about like 10-year-old Wally. I'm kind of looking forward to just getting into adult Wally. And
well,
just,
I
know it's coming, but I'm kind of just I'm ready for that now.
Yeah. But that's Born to Run, Flash Year One. Uh, yeah, I thought this issue comes up to the standard of the previous. It's kind of interesting that outside of Barry kind of waving goodbye at the start, there's no Barry after that, no Flash. It is just Wally's story on his own.
Hmm?
So the torch, in a way, not fully, but in a way, has been kind of passed on as the main character of the book. You know, where I mean, he was always the main character, but he gets to have an issue to himself, where it's really just him and no Flash.
It does feel like transitionary in that sense. That it's like, okay, we're done with Barry now again.
And even Iris is there for a bit longer, says goodbye, and she leaves, and this is just Wally and his problems now.
Yeah.
So really good stuff. What are you giving Flash 65?
I'm gonna give it a solid 7.
Yeah, I'm gonna go as point high. I'm gonna go 8. I like I say, they are. We mentioned that one weird, body, panel, but
yeah,
like the art's really good, especially the way it transitions when it goes into the storm. I really like, and again, the pacing that the art has had and the layouts has been so good, and it's consistent in this one too. So.